So these past 2 weeks have been like the holy crap, the semester's almost over kind of 2 weeks, where I kind of was also like, oh yeah, we have a big clinical project that we have to get done within the next 2 weeks. Well, after this week, we have only 2 more weeks of clinicals, so kind of got to start getting the ball rolling on that. So these past 2 weeks, I got to find out what the Bloomington Junior High Bible was, and I got to interview my CT and also teach my lesson to the class. The Bible is what the teachers at Bloomington Junior High, or at least the 8th grade teachers, call this big binder with every single student's information in it that they would have. It has forms filled out by the parents to inform the teachers about anything that they might need to know about their son or daughter, whether it be like allergies, if they have an IEP, just in general, what their interests are, what they are good at, what they're not good at, and a goal that the parent has that maybe the teachers can help the students reach by the end of the school year. It also has included in it, right after that sheet, is like an interest page that the student fills out. It has things they like in general, like candy bars, what they like doing, which 90% of the boys said video games, and just anything else. It also says, like, you know, would they rather learn by listening to something or watching something? So basically asking them what kind of learner they are, if they're like kinesthetic, visual, or audio. It also, which I thought this was pretty cool, it has a form in there where they asked any parent or guardian who would ever sign papers for the students to have them print their name and sign their name. And this would be so if need be, the teachers can go back and compare the signatures. I know when I was in school, I never realized that the students actually did this. But I'm not saying that I ever forged my parents' signatures on anything, because that's just wrong. So I'd never do that. But it was interesting to see that the teachers actually go that far to think of stuff like that. This week I also got to interview my CT. You know, just hit her hard in 2 weeks and was like, I need to get this, and this done. She was like, okay, fine, let's do it. I really felt that the interview was able to make more of a connection between me and her. She wasn't just seen now as my CT, the person, my mentor. I'm supposed to be learning and seeing how she's doing things and incorporating things. It was more like it's to where she was like, come in anytime. You're having a bad day? Come in. We could talk. Whatever. My door's always open. It was interesting, though, when asking all those questions on the interview about literacy, to see what she truly said. Basically, literacy, she feels, in her particular classroom, would be having the students actually understand the content for that lesson through all the means she's providing. She does use technology every day. She is trying to find fun and interesting sources and texts that are relevant to them, or you would assume are relevant to them. And she mainly wants them to be able to pull out the main topic or the main ideas, what they're supposed to be getting from it, and then be able to apply it later on. She is constantly asking them stuff about prior knowledge to scaffold on it, to build on it, where she'd be like, oh, remember when we were talking about the Puritans? What were they like then? Okay, now how can that apply to now, to Lewis and Clark? And she's constantly doing stuff like that. It also, one other thing that I got from her interview was that she just wants to instill this like curiosity to learn into her 8th graders, because she sees now that they really just don't care about history. It's not fun to them, or doesn't get them going and want to learn more, which is her passion. So she doesn't like that. She really wants them to care just as much as she does. So she's constantly trying to just think of cool ways to teach them about this to where they're kind of like, you know what, it is kind of cool. Maybe I'll go look at a YouTube video up about it or something. And the other thing that the students feed into is she says history is like when she watches her soap operas. There's so much drama and fighting, and it's just so, I don't even know what to say. It's just so full of life and everything. Okay, now on the fun part, the lesson I taught. Okay, so I would have to say that up to today, this would have been the hardest lesson that I have ever done. And it's not because it was a difficult topic or the students are difficult, which some of them are, but it was mostly because I really wanted to implement all of the knowledge that I have learned so far and impress my CT as well at the same time with this awesome lesson, because I mean, in 216, you got to teach 3 lessons to where you could kind of do a variety and show them more of like you as a teacher and see what they think. Where this was kind of like one shot and done. And I guess it's more like the real life too, like an interview. Like you got one shot to do it or you don't. Thankfully, she did tell me though that she was impressed at the end and she thought I felt well. I felt like a good match in the role of a teacher. But I also, it took me 6 hours to write this lesson plan. I've never taken that long. And I'm not even talking about like constructing the materials, making the Prezi. I'm talking about literally figuring out what I was gonna do. Because every time I'd write the lesson plan, I'd be searching stuff online and I'd find something cooler and better I'd wanna do. And be like, no, I should really do that. Because that's more fun for the students and that would show that side of me. And so many revisions happened to this lesson plan just to make it fun. Well, it wasn't like as fun as, I don't know, going to a movie or something, but I wanted to really engage the students in my lesson plan. So it took a long time. I also wanted to keep in mind the Common Core, because that's something that's basically like shoved down our throats that, you know, this is gonna happen, we gotta learn about it and start implementing it. And my CT really does do it constantly in our classroom. She's constantly bringing stuff in from other subject areas that the kids are learning currently at that time, where she can actually say, oh, you know, Mr. So-and-so, I can't remember all the teachers' names, but she's constantly saying, oh, you know, Mr. So-and-so and this was teaching you guys about hypothesis. And we're going to make an inference. And inference and hypothesis are the same, but they're just different terms to mean the same thing depending on the content area that you're in. So she's constantly doing that. So I really wanted to make sure that I kind of put like Common Core into my lesson as well. Also, she had me send her my lesson plan a week before. So like a week before. So the Monday before, even though I sent it Tuesday morning, which was fine. But it was just so more relaxing to have it over and done with that far in advance than if I was still doing it over the weekend before I taught Monday. And I also felt like I was more confident because I put so much time into it. I really had it, I'm gonna say, as perfect as I could have made it at the time, where I knew what I was doing. It was smooth. I spent so much time with it. I knew what was gonna happen, well, besides any unexpected things from the students, but like I was confident in what I was teaching and how I was gonna teach it. And that took a lot of stress off me as well. Okay, now for the literacy part of my lesson plan, looking at it through that kind of lens. I wanted to explain my topic, which was the Louisiana Purchase and Lewis and Clark, in like a simplistic form for the students, where it was mainly like cause and effect, from like just a little brief thing. It was like, okay, we're only settled east of the Mississippi. Well, they're going to tell us we can't use the Mississippi. Why do we need the Mississippi? So they go, oh, we need it to trade and to basically survive and make money. Well, that's one of the things, like, I was like, okay, so we need to own the Mississippi, so how do we own the Mississippi? And then we go through all that, and then how we got all the territory, well, not all, but Louisiana territory west of the Mississippi and exploring it, blah, blah, blah. All that jazz. But it was mainly just like, well, why do we need this? What do we do now? What can we learn from, like, it was just kind of like pulling from the students to get them to say things. rather than me just saying, Lewis and Clark did this. We bought this from France. Spain screwed us over because they gave this to France. Instead of just saying stuff, I kind of had them involved in every step of the way. So I basically wanted the students to also build their own conclusions on the Louisiana Purchase, what we did, why we did it, when we did it. Also, this being like a history class, I wanted students, whenever I think of history, I think primary sources and secondary sources. So I wanted students to be able to extract information from that in order to learn more and apply it more. And I also was like, okay, they need to practice their reading because we all know test scores are low, so this would be perfect. So luckily during my 6 hours of creating my lesson plan, I stumbled upon National Geographic and how they actually have interactive journal articles from Lewis and Clark from their expedition. And they seemed to be like they were at the right reading level. There were some words that the kids didn't know, like colt, for example, like a baby male horse. It's mentioned how they ate a colt and they want to know what a colt was. So I really liked this and was like, great, we can use their laptops. They each can have their own journal article, and they can work on summarizing, like, because I wanted them all to pull out the main idea and tell the whole class. We were going to go one by one because it actually went in order of their expedition through all the dates. So it was all the main points that they encountered and all the new animals they discovered and all that. So I was really excited about that because I was like, great, it's not just a boring old article that I'm just printing out and giving them to them and be like, here, read this. That they're using technology, they are looking at the maps, they're seeing pictures and stuff. Well, they're seeing illustrations from this time because they didn't have the camera, so it's just what they could picture and draw. Like, I just felt it was more engaging than just the boring old anything. Also, another proud moment of my lesson would be when I stumbled upon the Lewis and Clark rap on YouTube video, on YouTube by MC Lala. And going into it, I was like, okay, it's kind of a cheesy rap. Are the 8th graders going to be too cool for this? Or are they going to buy into it and realize, oh my god, this rap basically will summarize everything I need to know about Lewis and Clark? And it's kind of to a beat to where you can kind of remember stuff. And so I wasn't quite sure how they were going to react. When I first put it on, there were students that were like, oh, turn this off. And then there were some that actually started rapping along with it because I gave them the lyrics. And after the first, I'm going to say 30 seconds, you know the main chorus. Or chorus, not course. You know the main part. So they actually started rapping along. And that was just like awesome because I was like, they actually like it. They're going to remember the Lewis and Clark rap. That they're actually getting something from my lesson. It's not just a waste. And I really liked that I wasn't just standing up there and just teaching the lesson in a lecture way, that I was really trying to get the students involved, use their technology that they like, even though there were some faulty technology stuff with laptops not letting kids log on. But I also was prepared though because I had it printed out. I had it print out like, I'm going to say blank copy, and then I had mine where I highlighted and already had all the main points of every article specified, so when the kids went around and told me, I could constantly listen to what they were saying, repeat back what they said, as well as be like, oh yeah, well, what about this too? Like, this was also in it. So I can make sure that the whole class as a whole was actually getting the necessary information and not just depending on what this 8th grade student was telling me. And there were some students who actually could summarize. And then there were some that literally just picked out random sentences just to tell me sentences. Going into the classroom after I taught, though, it was kind of cool, though, because the students all knew my name even better. And they were constantly talking about, not constantly, but they were talking to me about, like, the rap and other stuff. So it was nice to know that they actually got something from it and liked it. But that is pretty much all that happened in these past 2 weeks. And now it's gonna be a pull for the long haul. I'm trying to figure out how to get this video to work on the computer now.